The history of Shab-e-Yalda, an ancient winter tradition, the Persian answer to Christmas and New Year. Before we talk specifically about Shab-e-Yalda, it helps to step back and look at something bigger. Around the world, across history, almost every culture has created traditions around winter, around darkness, cold, and the turning of the year. In the Western world, this time is marked most strongly by Christmas and New Year. These are moments tied to light, rebirth, reflection, family, and hope. Different cultures use different names, symbols, and rituals, but the human need behind them is almost always the same: finding meaning, warmth, and connection during the darkest time of the year. In Western countries, this season usually means Christmas first, followed closely by New Year. People gather with family, decorate their homes with lights, share food, reflect on the year that's ending, and look ahead to the year that's coming. Now, while all of that is happening in the West, Persian cultures are marking the same moment in the calendar with a tradition called Shab-e-Yalda. It happens at almost exactly the same time, around the 20th or 21st of December, right in the heart of winter, just before Christmas and just before the New Year. Emotionally and culturally, Shab-e-Yalda sits in the same space as Christmas and New Year combined, but it comes from a much older place and follows a quieter, deeper rhythm. To understand it properly, it helps to know what the name itself means. Shab-e-Yalda is Persian. Shab means night and Yalda means birth. So word by word, Shab-e-Yalda translates into English as the night of birth. More specifically, it refers to the birth of light. That meaning alone tells you what this night is really about. It is not a celebration of darkness. It is the moment when darkness reaches its maximum and light is about to be born again. Shab-e-Yalda marks the longest night of the year, the winter solstice. This is the night when darkness lasts longer than any other night and daylight is at its weakest. Ancient Persians noticed this thousands of years ago, long before modern science, clocks, or calendars. By watching the sky and the movement of the sun, they understood that after this night, something important changes. The days slowly begin to grow longer again. Light does not return suddenly, but it does return. And that simple observation became the heart of Shab-e-Yalda. The night is remembered not because it is dark, but because it represents the turning point. The origins of Shab-e-Yalda go back more than 3,000 years to ancient Persian civilization, long before modern nation-states existed, and long before Islam or Christianity arrived in the region. In those times, winter was not symbolic. It was dangerous. Cold meant hunger, illness, and death. Long nights meant fear and uncertainty. People believed the longest night was the most vulnerable time of the year, so they chose not to face it alone. Families and communities stayed awake together, gathered around warmth, shared food, told stories, and waited collectively for dawn. Togetherness itself became protection. Today, Shab-e-Yalda is still widely celebrated in Iran and across other Persian-influenced regions, including Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kurdish areas, and parts of the Caucasus. Families usually gather at the home of the eldest family member because elders represent continuity, memory, and experience. People sit together for hours, talking, laughing, remembering the past, and sometimes simply being quiet together. There are no countdowns, no fireworks, and no pressure to perform happiness. The act of being present is the celebration. Food plays an important role on Shab-e-Yalda, but everything on the table is symbolic. Watermelon is eaten to remember the warmth of summer and to protect against winter illness. Pomegranates, with their deep red color, represent life, blood, fertility, and rebirth. Nuts and dried fruits reflect survival foods, things that last through winter and keep people nourished. Unlike many modern holiday meals that can become extravagant or stressful, Yalda food is about meaning rather than excess. It quietly reminds people that survival does not require luxury, only care and sharing. Another central part of Shab-e-Yalda is poetry, especially the poetry of Hafez. Many families open his poetry book at random and read a poem aloud. This is not fortune-telling in a mystical sense. It is reflective. The poem becomes a mirror for the moment, offering wisdom, patience, or emotional grounding. It turns the night inward. Instead of loud celebration, Yalda encourages reflection about life, hardship, love, loss, and hope. It allows sadness and warmth to exist side by side without trying to force either away. When you compare Shab-e-Yalda to Christmas, the contrast is striking. Modern Christmas is often loud, commercial, and emotionally demanding. People are expected to be joyful, generous, and festive, even when they are struggling. Shab-e-Yalda does not demand happiness. It accepts that winter is heavy, life can be difficult, and darkness is real. Where Christmas often says, celebrate joy, Yalda says, sit together through the darkness. And compared to New Year, which focuses on change, ambition, and starting fresh, Yalda offers something gentler. It does not ask you to reinvent yourself or make resolutions. It simply asks you to hold on. That is why Shab-e-Yalda still matters today. In a world full of noise, pressure, isolation, and constant performance, it offers a quiet and deeply human message. You do not need to fix everything tonight. You do not need to be productive. You do not need to pretend everything is fine. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is sit with others and wait for the light to return. Shab-e-Yalda reminds us that darkness reaches its peak, and then it weakens, and that light, slowly and patiently, is always reborn. And maybe that is the most important thing this story leaves us with. Not just as a Persian tradition, and not just as history, but as a shared human message. Every culture, in its own way, has faced the longest nights and chosen light over fear, togetherness over isolation. So to everyone who celebrates Shab-e-Yalda, to Persian and Iranian families, to Afghan, Tajik, Kurdish, and all communities who keep this ancient night alive, I wish you warmth, peace, health, and light in your homes. And to those in the Western world, to Christians celebrating Christmas, and to everyone welcoming the new year, I wish you the same. May the coming days bring more understanding between cultures, more peace between people, more freedom where it is needed, and more kindness in a world that often forgets how powerful simple togetherness can be. Whether you call it Yalda, Christmas, New Year, or simply a winter night shared with others, may the light return gently for all of us. And may we remember that no darkness, however long, lasts forever.